Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon. I still can't believe Wednesday was a football day, Perna. I also can't believe the Steelers' PR team was dumb enough to let me interview Mike Tomlin after they barely beat the Ravens practice squad, but they did. And here's what we discussed. Yes, thank you. Mr. Tomlin, to what do you credit the reportedly unsafe and high amount of blowjobs occurring in the Steelers' locker room?
Sucking.
Can you elaborate? What does a locker room blowy even feel like? That seems excessive, but I guess explains why you felt no remorse for punching your own player in the face on the sideline. Knowing that you would hurt an ally, I am ending this Zoom meeting now, Mike. It is over. I do wish Mike Tomlin was my head coach. No, not for the Denver Broncos, just my real-life, daily motivator head coach telling me my videos here suck and that he'll cut off my eyelids and my foreskin and then replace my eyelids with my foreskin so that all I see when I close my eyes is dicks.
You blink, I'll cut your eyelids off. Don't you blink. I got you. Let's go.
Maybe then I'd figure out how to get 1 million subscribers here on YouTube. Today, we'll look at the mighty effort from the Ravens practice squad against the Steelers, and we will dive into the big question in the football world today. Is Cris Collinsworth sexist?
Yeah, man. I appreciate you not blinking. You're growing, man.
Please, a subscription to this YouTube channel for football news would be delightful. So would a thumbs up. Today's episode is sponsored by manscaped.com/goodsports. It's December, which means it's time to start thinking about the holidays, or as I call them, bolidays. Just like me, Christmas always seems to come early. So fellas, dudes, bros, men, guys, now is the time to start putting the performance package on your wish list of gifts you would like to receive this holiday season. When your lady sees the words performance package, she'll know it's a gift for both of you. The performance package includes the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer and the Lawnmower 3.0, the only below the elastic waistband pube trimmer to feature skin-safe technology to reduce nicks and cuts in that very special area. Asking for Manscaped products as stocking stuffers is much classier than actually stuffing the front of your pants. So use my discount link below, manscaped.com/goodsports, which will have your stockings overstuffed with 2 free gifts, 20% off, and now free international shipping. Oh, and I will have big dick Patreon shoutouts for new patrons at the end of this episode. I would like to begin with a question. Is this what we want to force Cris Collinsworth to apologize for?
In particular, the ladies that I met, they had really specific questions about the game. I was like, wow, you're just blown away by how strong the fans are here in this town.
After the hundreds and hundreds of games he's called, we want to label him a sexist and make him apologize for that? Why now and not 6 years ago when I posted this video showcasing Cris Collinsworth saying far more offensive things?
He had like a swollen balls. It takes a young body to be able to contort like that. I mean, there's so much talent in that body. When you're coming in there is a good chance that you're going to be very hard. It just creates openings, the loose ones.
After the Steelers-Ravens game, Collinsworth was also ridiculed for saying he's no doctor and suggesting that COVID probably doesn't spread outdoors on the football field.
I understand the danger. I have yet to have anybody tell me that playing football outside is spreading the disease. Mm-hmm. And we were talking to John Harbaugh about this a little bit yesterday, and he really felt the soft spot of the equation was inside the locker room.
So when he said he was sick after the comments he made, was it COVID related or sexism related? And is COVID sexist? Should you be surprised though when a woman is really into football? My answer is yes. Anyone that watches my channel regularly should be surprised when any woman talks to them for any reason. We're a bunch of losers here. In my experience, the number of real women in my world give far less shits about the NFL than the men in my life. It's why at family gatherings, the people who I talk to about football are all men, with the exception of one of my aunts from time to time. It's why my group text thread about football is all dudes, because even the women who do really love football in our friend circle want no part of that football insanity. Look, if I'm going by the least sexist thing on earth here, math, 96.3% of the people that watch this YouTube channel are men. I have 3 Patreon fantasy leagues, and I am positive they are all dudes. Although Tampa Bay Exotics could go either way, and I will not comment on the Norfolk Ladyboys. It's okay that there are things on this earth that men are more into than women. And football, I think, is one of them. It doesn't mean women should be excluded, nor given a fair chance to work in the industry. It doesn't mean women who work in sports should have to continue to be the target of sexist shitbags on social media. And it doesn't mean women don't know about football. It just fucking means men and women are different. And I don't understand why it's politically correct to try and lie about that. If women were really into football proportionately to men, why is the one place on earth the line for the men's bathroom longer than the women's at football games? Why would only 3.7% of women seek out a YouTube channel talking about football? The only acceptable answer is because this repulses them, and that is fair. The NFL will tell you that 46% of their audience is female. I think that number is inflated because I think a percentage of the women who watch football do so because a husband or boyfriend or dad watches. The same way I watch The Voice, Real Housewives, and The Bachelor with my wife. It doesn't mean some men don't genuinely love those shows. And it doesn't mean women don't genuinely love football or know as much about the game as men. I just talked about how people hear what they want to hear when discussing DK Metcalf and Jim Schwartz in the last episode. Either you heard Cris Collinsworth try to compliment women for their superior football knowledge, or you heard him say all women must die, like the NFL antithesis of Daenerys Targaryen. Growing up, my mom cared more about watching Broncos games than my dad did. I know women love football. I know women who work in sports get treated far worse than men. I support more women covering sports. I just think this is the wrong guy and wrong situation to try and make an example of. Because I also support not demonizing a person who may not have used the best turn of phrase to describe the fact that he got excited when women asked insightful football questions.
And that body.
Trying to tear a good person down like Collinsworth to make a point about equality feels very counterproductive in my opinion. And we should be careful about labeling people sexists or racists or homophobes or bad YouTubers. Because those labels stick, and unless they're fairly earned, it does a lot of damage to that person. Now the Steelers and Ravens were forced to play Wednesday afternoon football, even though the Ravens had 25 positive COVID cases amongst their players. Nobody understands why this didn't justify a Week 8 makeup game. I mean, we do. It's because the NFL doesn't give a shit about players. It never has and it never will. The Ravens were told of 2 new positives the day they traveled to Pittsburgh. They had 1 player and 1 coach test positive. The player practiced with the team during the previous 2 days, and the coach, his primary job was to blow into the players' cups of coffees so it wasn't too hot to drink. This is the best evidence of complete NFL hypocrisy that we have. The NFL would not let a single Broncos quarterback play, despite negative tests, and despite having the opportunity to move the game 2 days, and despite the players being socially distant when they removed their masks to eat and speak in a large room. That would be dangerous, according to the NFL, in terms of spreading the virus. Yet, forcing two teams to play when one has a full-blown outbreak and contact with the player and coach within the last 2 days who tested positive is somehow less of a risk. Regardless, the game went on at the worst time possible. Early afternoon, when most people were trying to rub one out without anyone noticing on their final Zoom meeting. The Ravens had to start RG3 at quarterback and even Dez Bryant at wide receiver, which isn't a terrible thing to have to do. In fact, all 3 of RG3's starts since 2017 have come against the Steelers. Is that what the 3 stands for in the name RG3? Dez Bryant is also the first player in the modern NFL era to appear in 2 Wednesday games. The last one, the opening night of the 2012 season when they beat the defending champion New York Giants. Bet you forgot that was on a Wednesday, or that Kevin Ogletree caught 2 touchdowns for the Cowboys in that game. I remember because I rushed to the waiver wire to claim Ogletree, only to see him catch 2 more touchdowns for the rest of the season and never break 100 receiving yards again. Antonio Brown's trial for the sexual assault and rape civil suit has been postponed by about a year and is now set for a December 6th, 2021 date. Unfortunately for Buccaneers fans, this means their offense won't reach its full potential until about week 12 next season. And speaking of Antonio Brown, how will Ben Roethlisberger blame him for this interception in the end zone? Much like everyone who beats the first 10 levels, Big Ben had his ass handed to him in his first attempt against Bowser. Also, just like in Super Mario Bros., the Steelers' soft schedule has allowed them to use shortcuts and bypass their way directly into an undefeated first place. Ben was saved after that pick by his defense as Joe Hayden then pick-sixed RG3 on the next series as Hollywood Brown refused to play defense. Expecting a guy named Hollywood to play both ways is like expecting people to actually be more angry that Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown are still in the league than at anything Cris Collinsworth has ever said. Here's what I learned. This weird week messed with the Steelers' mojo. I also don't think the Steelers are nearly as unbeatable as their schedule would suggest. I mean, hell, if Luke Wilson could catch, they probably would have lost this game. They look like a team that will lose their first playoff game right now, and seeing Bud Dupree go down with an ACL injury is a big blow to that defense. They do still have TJ Watt, who is on an absolute tear. He leads the league in sacks because Myles Garrett got the Rona. He leads in QB hits, and the checkdown tweeted that he's an offense's worst nightmare. I disagree. Having Adam Gase as your head coach is an offense's worst nightmare. It also turns out that any quarterback can run behind that Ravens line, even without all of its starters. RG3 finished with 68 rushing yards. I actually hate watching Justice Hill run the ball. Every time I see him play, I am reminded of what this country will never have: justice on the Hill. That's a good TV show name, too. RG3 did suffer a hamstring injury, which brings me to my Benchwarmer Brew player of the game. Trace McSorley is a backup's backup, buried so deep on the bench you might sit on him. And yet he earned himself the bench play of the game with this 70-yard touchdown pass to Hollywood Brown, the first touchdown pass of McSorley's career. Just another thing Hollywood and Penn State have in common. That's a pedophile joke. This is the perfect play for a bench warmer. Throw the ball 15 yards, get credit for 70 yards on the stat sheet, while also giving your team a chance to win, and simultaneously finishing with the highest quarterback rating in the NFL. Oh, Trace McSorley, you earned BenchwarmerBrew.com, my personal coffee brand's bench play of the game. And like I said, I've got Big Dick Patreon shoutouts for Large Hadron Divider with a huge $100 a month donation. Michael Bowman upping to $10. Bill Gerling with a $102 yearly donation. Sterling Miller, Jack Wyatt, Reed Osborne, Mark Baptiste, and huge Yidge legend. Thank you guys so much for your donations. You know I would just fucking die without them. God, I love you, patrons. Boom. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports. There's a video on the screen right now. You can click that video and watch more of this dumb show.